All right. We have the question of the week, which I've been looking forward to talk about this one. So last week, we kind of briefly touched on Ronda Rousey rumors, and you kind of shut them down for obvious reasons.
Because
But
they were shut down to me whenever I asked.
well,
Yes.
yeah, exactly, yeah. But Ariel Helwani brought it up, and no, she's under contract to WWE, and if and when she leaves WWE, it's probably going to be to start a family, not to go back to fighting. But we saw, for those of us that are wrestling fans, this past weekend on Money in the Bank, they abruptly ended her tag team with Shayna Baszler, which another former UFC fighter. And it seems like they're going to be feuding, and then rumors are that Ronda is going to be imminently done with WWE at some point. She's given them a date. That date's not necessarily public. Some people know, some people don't. But and it kind of sparked rumors, especially with WWE and UFC under the same banner,
I
under
wouldn't say it
Endeavor.
sparked rumors, but it sparked. If you're like me and you think about this stuff, it sparked wheels in your head. For
Sure,
now.
but I will say that you're the first one I heard it from, but you're definitely not the only one.
Yeah.
And people have been asking me, and I'm just, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
All I know is that it seems like she's gonna be done with WWE soon.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's probably not a better time than right now, for her to come back, for UFC for sure, and probably maybe for her as well if she wants to. But
Yeah.
what are your thoughts here?
Okay, so the question was, should
Yeah,
Ronda Rousey consider returning to the UFC? I
right.
think she
Okay.
should. I think she should now,
Yeah.
especially now that we kind
Now,
of
when
know.
you ask this question, are you talking about from her perspective?
I'm saying, do we think she should consider returning?
Okay. So, but I'm just saying, like, from if I'm Ronda Rousey, do I
Yeah,
think I should return, or if I'm UFC,
should
should I bring her
no. If
back?
I'm Ronda Rousey, should I
Okay.
consider
Okay.
returning?
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Just want
yeah,
to make sure. Okay.
yeah, and or should she consider it? And I think she probably has considered it, probably
Yeah.
several times in the
Every
past. But
time they make
now,
her an offer, probably.
yeah, but now, like we have this situation where, yeah, her tag team with Shayna Baszler abruptly ended. It was always going to end. They always wanted to feud. I mean, that was the end goal of the team, but it was just rather abruptly, and the fact that original plans, I guess, for them were going to be working WrestleMania, and now it's apparently going to be SummerSlam. And I've heard Rousey's end date is actually SummerSlam, or not
Okay.
very long after.
Yeah.
Not very long after, but I think SummerSlam is going to be it for her. And just the timing. It's the timing of it. You have a vacant bantamweight title with Amanda Nunez leaving. You have no real. You have nothing in that division is going to spark interest for a vacant bantamweight title. You're going to have Pena against somebody. Her against Raquel Pennington, not going to light the world on fire. Her against Holly Holm again. Holly Holm's in her 40s. It might not be done. She might be done soon. I mean, Holmes won that fight before. It's nothing that it's not interesting. A Ronda Rousey comeback would be massive for the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was any chance she thought she had given of returning, I think now that Amanda Nunez is gone, now would be the time. If it was ever going to happen, you do it now, because she's not getting any younger. She's, I think, 36 now. I think,
Yeah.
but she could probably have three solid years on
Mm-hmm.
top. And as long as she goes to as long as she gets away from Edmund, we'll put it to you that way. She needs to go
Yeah.
train at AKA with Cormier and them. But yeah, I mean, it would not. I'm not saying they have. It would not surprise me if UFC's reached out. And from everything I know about the whole Endeavor merger and the whole TKO thing, and even Paul Levesque was even asked about this on the when he did his little press conference after Money in the Bank on Saturday. It's kind of clear Endeavor values UFC over WWE as far as being their primary moneymaker.
I watched that press conference, and
Yeah.
the question he was asked was something about, the way it was phrased was the UFC takeover of WWE, and he did not like that term. but you can also tell by the way he answered it is it's not really that far off.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that's why I said. That's why
yeah,
I said. I heard
yeah,
that question. And I
yeah,
go. The way he responded to that makes
yeah,
me feel like the higher ups value, and they should, because
yeah,
the way they got the UFC set up to be just this absolute moneymaker. And even when you look at the books compared to the two as now, UFC is still raking in far much more money than WWE's right now, and for them to get WWE at the same level of UFC as far as a moneymaker, it's going to take years, and it's going to take a lot of changes, and it's going to take a lot of changes in the WWE system that might not be well liked, as
yeah,
far as cutting wrestler salaries and stuff like that. But to get it where, but also UFC, yeah, I think is I won't say far stronger. I think it's a stronger brand right now, the WWE,
um,
mainly
yeah,
because of pay-per-view
yeah.
and stuff like that.
They're
And
both very strong,
they're
though.
both very
Don't
strong,
get me wrong.
very
Yeah,
strong. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
one of those things. Like if you had to ask me which is a strong, in my opinion, what's a stronger brand, UFC or WWE? I'm going to say UFC.
Yeah,
Just because there's just certain
but
advantages they have.
yeah. Now,
But
I will say that from the UFC perspective as well, why they
yeah,
would want Ronda, they're going to be starting to negotiate for a new TV and
yeah.
pay-per-view deal.
This ties in. This ties
Yeah,
into our we have to talk about
right.
thing too.
Yeah, but I would say, like, and it's her timing is impeccable because when she signed with WWE, that was when WWE was renegotiating their deal, and they ended up getting huge money from Fox.
Fox on
To
the strength of having her and Brock Lesnar there.
Exactly, yeah, and her being a big part of that.
Yeah,
Brock's a big star, and pro wrestling fans listening to this might not realize how big of a deal Ronda is, but Ronda's a pretty big deal. And yeah, so now here's the other thing, and I just want to clear this up because some people, especially if you're a pro wrestling fan, and we do have a lot of wrestling fans that listen to this show as well, and maybe we'll listen to this segment too. The pro wrestling fan in me would look at that angle, and then you think about UFC, and you think, oh, maybe they're going to actually do an MMA fight. And I would say, like, if you think that's going to happen, it's not going to happen.
well, that's the
And
first thing you asked me. Fighting
I
with
know,
Shayna,
I know.
I go like, no. If she goes back to UFC, it's paying you. It's paying you for the title or not at all.
Or, well, I mean, the other one you could do is home, but
Yeah,
and that
but if she's going back, she's going right into the title fight.
right. But I
There's
mean, I'm
no
saying you could do
nothing else
home for
there.
the title too.
Yeah, you could,
Yeah.
but I think
Um,
I really think they're going to give. I really think one side of that title fight is going to be Pena. It's about who's the other side.
Yeah, because she most recently lost, and she's the most recent champion. But the thing is, like, putting aside, the fact that, Shayna's under contract to WWE, that's probably not that big of a deal.
No,
But the bigger deal is it's if you put that fight in an octagon, immediately people are going to be thinking it's a work. So
yeah.
you can't do it.
No.
You just can't.
Plus,
Um,
plus, I mean, it's a different like a real. I mean, they're two best friends.
exactly. Yeah, they're doing an
you can
angle.
work out a work wrestling match. A real fight,
You can't do it.
they won't do a real fight for one.
There's you brought up 3 years. I mean, to me, there's 3 fights that she can do that are
Yeah,
going to have huge interest. There's,
Pena.
Pena for the title, Home, and Misha Tate.
Yeah,
Yeah, and if you could somehow get those 3 fights out of Ronda, like, that's, man, like, that we're talking like $100 million in revenue. Like, I don't know what they're
yeah,
going to pay Ronda, but
yeah. Because I have to imagine if she comes back, we're looking at
$10 million a fight, easy.
yeah, but like on the pay-per-view buys,
Oh, million, easy.
I mean, and let's get into we have to talk about, and we have
Okay.
to talk about segment is UFC, Dana White, Mark Shapiro, Endeavor president. They either have already done it or they're about to start meeting with Jimmy Pitaro, head of ESPN programming, to start negotiations for a new deal. And I know a big part of it is there's tons of pressure on the UFC to get these pay-per-view numbers up. I think whatever linear deal they come up to, whether it's with ESPN or multiple networks, that's going to go up. The pay-per-view price thing is the big thing because UFC has skated by. They had that massive year in 2020 and 2021 because of the pandemic, but these card offerings they've given the last year and a half, they've been skating by, and they're not living up to what ESPN wants. And ESPN has been wanting big fights, and so UFC threw all their eggs in a couple baskets this year. The John Jones thing, yeah, they got John Jones back, and he had a big massive fight that drew massive numbers with Cyril Gahn, and he's looking at having another big massive fight here in the next few months against Stipe. But that might be it for John Jones. He might fade off into the sunset after that.
Yeah.
So then you lose him. This stuff with Connor, I mean, they threw a lot of eggs in the Connor basket, thinking that he'd be ready to go September at the earliest, between September and December. Now it's all of a sudden we don't know the timetable of when he's going to come back.
January at the earliest, and
January. March. Yeah, we don't know. Masvidal, he retired, but I think his drawing power had waned. You don't. Colby Covington's not a big star. Yeah, Israel Adesanya is a big star. His numbers are doing good. I mean, Nate Diaz isn't back yet. Let's see. I mean, some of these fighters are great, like Poirier and Gaethje, but they haven't bumped up to where you can count on them getting 600, 700,000 pay-per-view buys like you need. So all of a sudden you bring a Ronda Rousey back in the mix for a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, and you can get $3 to $4 million buy rates out of her, or even 800,000 plus. You do that. You go after that. And
especially if you can sign her right now as you're about to start your negotiations. Yeah. You can tell, the guys at ESPN, hey, we've got Ronda Rousey locked up for the next 3 years. Yeah. And there's a spillover. When you do $1 million pay-per-view or $1 million buy pay-per-view, there's usually the other ones kind of around that come up as well. You generally don't go from like $1 million to 100,000. Like, I mean, sometimes you do, but
I just want to preface this for everybody listening. This is just us speculating. This
like, we don't know anything.
For all we know, Ronda's leaving because she's planning on getting knocked up here soon.
Yeah, it could be that. Could be done. Who knows?
Just done. Yeah. It's just the fact that we assume that she would if she was going to leave anytime soon. We assumed she was going to stay through WrestleMania because that would be the time to leave, is after the big show of the year. But the fact that this just seems so abrupt, and we're looking at a spot where UFC really could use her right now, and the fact they're all under one umbrella now, you have to at least consider it as a possibility.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of money to be made from both sides to do this.
And if she wants to cash in big, she's going to make more in one fight than she will have during her entire WWE tenure. Probably.
What do you? I mean, you figure 10 million minimum, right, per fight?
Yeah. She'll get 10. She'll get 10.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, and and then who knows? Like maybe they try to get Brock too. Like I don't think he'll do it, but I'm sure they're going to throw some money at him.
I think Brock's fine with not fighting again.
Well, I'm sure he is too, but I think he's going to turn down a lot of money. Like there's a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot. There's quite a few people.
And this whole, like you said, this whole endeavor, kind of owning both companies, it kind of opens that door a little bit to where, and like I said, if Ronda ever considered coming back, now's the time.
Now's the time, absolutely.